Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have this problem. Which is bigger, 43 factorial or 42 factorial plus 41 factorial? So here this number looks big and this looks small, but let we do the math and find out which is bigger, which is smaller, or are they equal. So we can find this in this video with great and clear explanation. But first, what does factorial mean? So a factorial mean is just a multiplication that the number is multiplied by the next smaller number of its own. So if we say 5 factorial, which means 5 is multiplied by its smaller next number, and so that's 4. It continue till 1. So 5 factorial means 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So this is what factorial means. The number gets smaller and the number gets multiplied by its smaller number over and over again until it reaches 1. So this is the logic and it's pretty easy. So 5 factorial is equivalent to 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 120. So all of 5 factorial is 120, and you can just stop at 2 because any number multiplied by 1 is just the number itself. So that is the logic of factorial. So with this logic, which number is greater is the question. Our question is if 43 factorial is greater or 42 plus 42 factorial plus 41 factorial is greater. In general, we can solve this problem using two methods. The first one is called the series method, which involves doing 43 factorial, which is 43 times 42 times 41, and we go till 1, right? So we get a big number, of course. Then we have that big number, and what we are going to do next is find 42 factorial, which we will do the same thing, and we find a big number. That big number is added to another big number, and the sum of this number is going to be even bigger, and we can find this equation doing like this. This is called the series method, and it takes a lot of time. It's just a series and we don't have a lot of time, right? So we have to solve this equation in other way, which I am going to show you is so-called the sequence way, or in sequence. So we have to do it very quickly, right? So we don't have this process may take us like days, especially if we don't have a calculator. So that is not a good thing. So we have to find this right as fast as possible, especially in exams. So to do the sequence method and solve which is greater, first we have to expand the equation. So I'll show you here in a minute what 43 factorial means. So like I said so many times, 43 factorial means times 43 times 42 times 41, so on to 1. But we can just simply say 41 factorial here, since 41 factorial means just multiplying it by the next smaller number. So that is the idea, and we can rewrite the equation like this. So I just made a mistake now. So 43 factorial means 43 times 42 times 41 factorial. So that is the thing you need to notice. So we have expanded the 43 factorial, so we can move to the second equation, which is 42 factorial plus 41 factorial. This is where the thing gets trickier. You have to focus at this part of the video, so pay attention. Now we are going to expand the equation 42 factorial plus 41 factorial. So to do this, we can simply write 42 times 41 factorial. The thing we use for 43, it's similar with 42 factorial, so we can just add a plus sign here and just write 41 factorial. So this means 42 factorial plus 41 factorial means this, so it's the same thing, right? So it's just in a different expression. So we can do all of these things to find which is bigger, to see which is greater and which is smaller. So after this, what we are going to do is use the distributive property. So what does this mean? So there is a rule in maths that is called distributive property, where that rule states that A times B plus A times C is equal to A times the sum of B plus C. So the sum of B and C. So this is what the distributive property state, and this is actually true. Let we verify this equation in number. So let's say 2 times 5 plus 3 times 5. So we have got similar number here, 5, right? That is similar number. So we can just multiply 5 by the sum of 3 and 2, right? So in this case, 5 times 5, right? So the sum of 3 and 2 is simply 5, and 5 times 5 is 25. So in this case, here we have 10, here we have 15, so it's the sum of this is 25 once again. So the distributive property is just rewriting the number or the equation in much simpler way. So instead of saying A times B plus A times C, we can say A times the sum of B and C. So that is the thing. And how does this help us, you might say? Well, we can use the distributive property to our example, and that way we would rewrite the equation in a better way to compare the numbers. So we have 42 times 41 factorial plus 41 factorial. So how can we use the distributive property here? The other thing you may probably fail to do the distributive property in this equation is the fact that there is an invisible one. So what does an invisible one mean? I will explain that. So for example, we may have a number like this, an equation like this, like 7 times 7 plus 3 times 7. So this equals to 28, because 3 times 7 is equals to 21, and 21 plus 7 is 28. So how does we rewrite this in short term, or how should we use the distributive property? So in this case, we have 7 by its own. So to use the distributive property, we can simply add 1, which is called the invisible one. So we can multiply 7 by 1, which is 7. It doesn't change the equation, but it helps us. It brings the invisible one to add as a distributive property. So we can rewrite the equation like 1 times 7 plus 3 times 7. So this is the exact equation, except there is 1 here. So in distributive property we have 7. So this equation is mean 7 times the sum of 3 and 1, which is 4. So 7 times 4 is equal to 28. So this is the thing, and the invisible one is just this is what the invisible one mean. So you have to understand this term first in order to find this equation. I just remember how it's hard to find these things in early stages when I'm learning. So it's very hard for me, and I'm just explaining all of these details for those of you who don't know from the beginning, so everybody would understand what I'm trying to do. So we have like 42 times 41 factorial plus 41 factorial. So how can we 41 factorial, not 4 factorial but 41 factorial? So how can we rewrite this into distributive property? That is the problem. So what we can do is we can just multiply the 41 factorial by 1, which does not contribute anything to it, right? So the equation stay similar. So but it will help us for the distributive property as I showed you here. So we have add the invisible one here, so that is the point. So we have 41 factorial on both sides. So like here, the 41 factorial is just a common number. It's a common number. So we can rewrite this equation like 41 factorial is the 41 factorial multiplied 42 plus 1, right? So we can add these numbers and multiply them by 41. It's similar equation. Here we have 41 factorial is the sum of multiplied by the sum of 42 plus 3 plus 1, which is simply mean 41 factorial times 43. So this is the simplified version of 42 factorial plus 41 factorial. So we have expanded the right hand side, right? The right hand side of the equation. So now we can compare which is bigger. On the left side we have 43 factorial, which means 43 times 42 times 41 factorial, which this is compared to 41 factorial times 43. So which is bigger now? So now you can just write here by just seeing the number, but I'm going to write here down for you to just compare. So we have 43 times here, so we can say 43 times 41 factorial. It doesn't matter if you change the order in multiplication and addition, it doesn't have any effect on the number. So 43 times 41 factorial is not equal to 43 times 42 times 41 factorial. So here on the right hand side, on the left hand side, we have 42 factors, right? 42. But here on the right side, we don't have 42. We have only 43 times 41 factorial. So 43 factorial is bigger actually, and it is bigger by 42 times. So this is the solution, and 43 factorial is greater than 42 factorial plus 41 factorial. So this is the solution. I am just ordering a new pad for you. Try it. I'm just writing this on my phone screen. So for now it would be messy, I know guys, and it takes a lot of time, to be honest, to create these videos, because this is not comfortable to make the video at. But when the order is done, I will start uploading clean videos with detailed explanation, with deep dive rule explanation and consideration of all level students and learners. So make sure to subscribe the channel to see similar entertaining and educational math videos like this. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.